How's it going, everyone? This is Roslyn, and today we're going to be taking a look at the latest trial, the Bomb Family Kai. Now, this is the party I ended up doing the fight with. I will preface this by saying that you can do this with a physical dodge tank. You can also do this with a magic cover tank and a physical provoke tank that you either dodge or not dodge. I just found this to be the best. I did originally start the fight out using a dodge Galuf and switched off of him, but I'll get into that in the actual video itself. Either way, let's go ahead and take a look at the equipment. And this is how I have my character set up. As you can see, he has fire and ice resistance. These are really the only things you have to worry about. I have heard that you need to worry about like dark or something, but you don't. Fire and ice is really all you need, and if you have your characters at about 100% fire and ice, or roughly around there, you'll basically be fine for the majority of the fight. This is how I have my Fina lid set up. Now, you don't really need a debuffer, and really this slot could have been switched to basically anything else. I used her primarily as a sub healer and to debuff the boss's spirit to increase, speed up the fight. But the bosses can only be debuffed with defense and spirit. So in terms of survival, you don't really need a debuffer at all. And then I used Majin Fina. I did try using Choco Fina. I'll get into why I switched off of her again when I get into the explanation of the actual fight itself. But I have her again set up for resistances in fire and ice, and the main reason I gave her a staff is to give her a little bit more spirit, which turns out you need more physical defense than you do spirit in this fight, but also for the MP because I was having some MP issues. And then I used Santa Rosalia. And speaking of MP issues, I actually initially started the fight with Aerith, was having MP issues, and promptly swapped off of Aerith to the far more useful Santa Rosalia. The only reason I chose Santa Rosalia this time over Folka, who I would normally have switched to, is because I didn't need the barriers from Folka because I have Warrior of Light, and because I was having issues in previous attempts where I needed to be keeping up Rays on my friend unit's Fina and my Fina because of a very specific ability in this encounter. Really the only ability that deals any real damage. But she was able to keep both re-raise on both of them and heal the party at the same time, which is the main reason I chose her over Folka as my my healer for the fight. Either way, I recommend either one of them. Aerith kind of sucks for this fight, and I'm starting to think she kind of sucks in general. But either way, that's a different topic. And then I used CG Nickel. He was my buffer, kept up damage shields and buffs on the party. I also used him to keep up ice resistance. Normally that's not necessary for this fight if you have roughly 100% on everybody. However, my friend unit, I was having trouble finding a friend unit that had both fire and ice. Most of them only had fire resistance, so I was using him to help buffer that, but that's about it. So there's really not much to it, but either way, we'll get into the encounter itself, and I'll talk more about that there. Alright, and here we are in the fight. Now, the fight in general works very similarly to the original. The bombs will summon little bomb kids. After a while, they'll either blow up, or if you deal damage to them and don't kill them quickly enough, they'll blow up. They each take non-elemental damage, or they have a weakness to their opposing element and absorb their current element. Same thing with the Mother Bomb and Father Bomb, except that they're immune to non-elemental damage. They're weak to their opposing element, and they have 150% resistance to everything else, and they absorb their current element. The way you get around this is you just have really high imperils, usually 100% or 120% depending on who you're using, and you just slowly deal damage that way. Or you can deal like fire damage to Father Bomb and ice damage to Mother Bomb, but you really want to kill them both at around the same time, because if you don't, the other will go pretty berserk on you. Not like, I won't say like super berserk, but they end up dealing a lot more damage when they're by themselves below 50% HP. However, I did find that Father Bomb, I believe, the ice one, Father Bomb, is much more tame below 50% than Mother Bomb is. So if you have to kill one of them, try to kill the fire one first, because the ice one is a lot more tame. As far as that goes, there's really not that much that's dangerous about this fight. I know I've seen some people recommending that you need to kill the bombs off as quickly as possible. I largely ignored them. I found that if they blow themselves up, the damage is minuscule. As long as you have buffs up on your party, and damage reduction buffs and all that stuff, they don't really do a whole lot of damage. Now, a lot of times throughout this kill, you'll notice that they end up dying anyways to passive damage, but I didn't really go out of my way to fight them. I had them blow up on me a few times, and other attempts before this kill, I had them blow up on me a few times, and I don't think I ever took more than like 2,000 total damage from bombs blowing up. You don't need to worry about them at all. Another thing I've seen that's recommended, and this is one of the reasons why I swapped out Galef, is people recommend that you need fire resistance buffs and like ice resistance buffs. And as long as your party members are around 100% in both of those, you really don't need either of them. For the most part, I never really buffed fire resistance. The Finas can do it, but I didn't really. I think I did it maybe once or twice, but it's not necessary. And the same thing with ice resistance. The only reason I'm doing ice resistance in this kill using CG Nickel is because my friend unit only has 30% ice resistance. But if my friend unit also had 100% or close to 100% ice resistance, I probably wouldn't have used that ability because it's just not necessary. The only thing in this fight that really deals any significant amount of damage, and you'll notice it from time to time, is there is a single target ability that can't be covered, it can't be provoked, and it can't be, you can't draw attacks it with like anything, draw attacks or anything like that, and it hits stupidly hard. I'm pretty sure you need physical damage resistance, according to the I haven't looked at the AI yet, but according to the Japanese websites, it's a physical damage, and it comes from both bombs. And just anecdotally, I did notice that whenever I used Warrior of Light's physical damage reduction, the damage did seem to be a little bit lower, but I could be wrong on that. But either way, even with those buffs, it is an incredibly hard-hitting single-target ability, and if you're not buffed, it will very easily one-shot anyone with, even 12k HP. I mean, I've had this ability hit for 20k before in some attempts. But the really stupid part about it, and really the only thing I don't like about this fight, is that this ability can hit the same target twice in one turn, and you can very easily wind up with just, they'll keep chain targeting the same character, and you'll just start losing the same character every turn after turn after turn. I actually had that happen a few times on stream. But other than that, the damage in this fight is relatively low. There's really not a whole lot that you gotta worry about. I think I do lose a couple people here and there to my own stupidity in this kill, and then also to that one single target ability. But as long as you're keeping up defensive buffs and maybe some barriers if you have them, you're not going to be taking much damage in this fight. It's relatively tame. You just need to slowly whittle down both bombs, try to keep them as close as you can. I do this by using an element that neither one of them are weak against in Earth, and I do end up killing Mother Bomb first, and Father Bomb is up for a couple turns after that. He doesn't really do much. And then, like I said, I'll reiterate that the little bombs, when they blow up, they deal minuscule damage. It's really not that big of a deal. I don't know what else there is to say about it. Just, make sure you go in with fire and ice resistance. I mean, I guess if you don't want to buff your characters, or you don't want to give your characters high fire and ice resistance from the start, then you would need to probably use fire and ice resistance buffs. But again, you really don't need much more than 100%, and you're not going to take a whole lot of damage. So I know it's not a whole lot to go off of, but it's actually just a relatively simple encounter. Hope your characters don't get one-shot by getting doubled up by a stupid ability that you can't do anything about, and kill the bosses. Pretty simple. I will mention one thing I did forget. Now I mentioned why I switched away from Chocofina, and that is because I noticed this when I would kill Father Bomb first, and then I would start working on Mother Bomb using, killing one at a time using the Finas. Now I did notice when I used Chocofina that, they were much more tanky for, I was able to get them with much higher HP, so they weren't dying as much, but the issue I ran into is my Light Imperiler was Warrior of Light, and sub 50% on Mother Bomb, he started dying every single turn, just because the damage ramps up then. So at that point, yes, damage will get pretty high, but he was taking all this physical damage for the party, and he was dying every single turn. And I was reviving him, and he was using cover again, and I wasn't dying my party itself was not dying, but because he was my light imperiler, I was not able to imperil the boss whenever I needed to, which means I wasn't able to deal damage to the boss because I was using a light Fina, she could imbue herself. But the big issue came up when I would either use Santa Roselia's cooldown to imperil the boss, or on the few turns where he did live and I was able to imperil the boss, deal damage. The boss also then imbues your party with fire. And I assume if you leave Father Bomb up, he does the same for ice. So if you're using a physical attacker, or somebody who uses attacks that are considered physical, such as Chocofina, you need to watch out for that. This issue would have easily been mitigated had I had somebody like Sweet Duduka, which I don't. But because my main imperiler was my tank, it didn't end up working out for me, so I ended up switching. The main thing point I'm trying to get across is watch out for the imperil if you're using any sort of physical attacks. But anyways, it's been kind of a long-winded explanation to say that only one ability deals actual real damage in this fight, and it's not that hard of an encounter. But if you have any questions, please just let me know, as usual, in the comment section below. And just to reiterate, I do stream every single day. Whenever new Final Fantasy Brave Exvius content comes out, I'm always looking to stream that. Otherwise, I'm streaming other stuff. So if you want to come hang out on my stream, I'm there every single day.